and time. Hello, judges. It is such an honor to be on this stage representing my home country, Germany, which is quite literally on the other side of the world. A couple of months ago, I have made a coffee, and it absolutely blew me away. And I knew then and there that I want to share this experience with you here today. However, that raised the question, how can I recreate the exact same flavor experience I've had in Germany and share it with you here on the other side of the world? In other words, how can I achieve consistency? Judges, over the next couple of minutes, I want to share with you how I can use consistency to create a beautiful coffee experience for you. From origin to roasting, grinding, brewing, and all the way to your drinking experience. I will say a couple of flavor notes early on, but don't worry to write them down just yet. We will have plenty of time at the end to do so. And the coffee I'm about to share with you today actually is a blend of two beautiful origins. It's a mixed heirloom from the south of Ethiopia, and it's a Panama Geisha from Abu Coffee's Bokete. Now, what those two coffees have in common is that they are both grown at very high elevation. Now, that leads to a very consistent but colder climate. And that makes our coffee cherries grow a little bit slower, but way more evenly. Now, the mixed heirloom from Ethiopia has been processed using a controlled and consistent fermentation technique that we call carbonic maceration. It's a natural carbonic maceration where the whole cherries are placed into tanks that are flushed with carbon dioxide. Now, in those tanks, we can create beautiful transitioning textures, from velvety to juicy to creamy. And this is exactly why I love this coffee so much, because of its clean and clear transitioning textures. But as it is an Ethiopian coffee, it is quite delicate and elegant, a little bit lighter. And this is when I went to Panama. You see, the Panama has been processed natural on raised African beds. And there we can really push the sweetness of this coffee, resulting in red candy-like sweetness and retro nasal aromatic of red fruits. So by taking 5 grams of the Panama Geisha and adding it to 15 grams of the mixed heirloom, we can take those beautiful transitioning textures and we can elevate them. We can add body and sweetness. Now, both of those coffees have traveled a very long way, from Panama and Ethiopia all the way to Germany, and now to you here in Australia. But as many of us know, traveling, especially with roasted beans, is quite difficult, as the pressure in the air changes the flavor of the coffee. And this is exactly why I decided to not travel with my roasted beans, but I wanted to roast them here in Australia. But how can I do this when I'm all the way on the other side of the world? To overcome this problem, I teamed up with my friends from Nucleus Coffee Tools, and I've used their Link benchtop roaster. I set a profile that I really loved, and then I shipped some of my green coffee to my friends here, where they could roast the exact same coffee on the exact same roaster with the exact same profile that I have had shared with them. We can recreate the same coffee on two opposite sides of the world. Now, what is very special about this roaster and this profile, and what I have never heard of before, actually is that it starts roasting at room temperature. And let me tell you that it has many benefits. For example, it roasts our coffee way more even, resulting in a super, super clean cup. And it speeds up the aging time of our coffee, resulting in a coffee that you're about to taste today that's only been roasted 3 days ago. Both coffees have been roasted in 100-gram batches separately, and the roast time was about 6 minutes and 30 seconds for both coffees. Now, to push the acidity of this coffee, I decided to pre-grind it on a hand grinder on a coarse grind setting. And then I stored it in those small black containers you've seen earlier to stop it from oxidization. Judges, today I'm using a 1:15 ratio, and I'm starting with 5 grams of Panama and 15 grams of Ethiopia, and I'm adding 300 grams of 93 degrees hot water. And in order to achieve the desired strength out of my quite coarse grind setting, you're seeing me splitting my pours into 5 stages, every time allowing the water to completely pass through. This way I can increase my yield without losing any vibrancy or clarity. The next step where I can chase consistency is actually my dripper. So if you have a look at it, this dripper is produced in Germany. It's called Grey Carno. And it is an aluminium base that's coated in a heat-transferring ceramic layer. If you have a look at the underside of this dripper, you can see that its own structure helps to capture the heat of the already extracted coffee, resulting in a dripper that actually heats itself up with every pour I give. And this thermostability helps me to extract a very, very clean cup profile. And then if you have a look at the top of this dripper, you see V-shaped rips. Now, what happens once my water hits those rips? It'll create a natural but controlled agitation, and that allows me to boost the body of this coffee. Now, before I could come here and share this amazing coffee with you guys, there was one last inconsistency I had to solve, and that was my water. Because how can I use the same water on two opposite ends of the world? The answer was quite simple. I had to make it myself. So today I've started with a purified base water and added 3 key minerals. I've added 40 parts per million of magnesium chloride, and this is going to pronounce the acidity of the Ethiopian coffee and the florality of the Panama. And then I've added 40 parts per million of calcium chloride. This is going to bind the Yellowstone fruit sweetness of the halloum with the florality of the geisha. And then I've added 15 parts per million of potassium bicarbonate. This is the buffer in my water, and it's going to regulate the pH back to 7, and it's going to bind all of those minerals together. Judges, my extraction time today was 3 minutes and 20 seconds. And before I serve you this beautiful cup of coffee, there's a couple of things I have to do. So first, I'm going to swirl the carafes a couple of times, and then I'm going to give you the carafes for your aroma assessment. Afterwards, I'm going to serve you the coffee in those beautiful cups, and I'm inviting you to drink straight off these cups, because if you use your cupping spoons, you will just not get the same experience. And then we're going to write a couple of things down, okay? But first, please assess the aroma of toffee, apple, and dried canberries. There you go. Cranberries. There you go, one for you. And one for you. Right, you're all good? Yeah? I see you already start writing. So it's time to write a couple of things down. The flavor of this coffee is so complex that we'll be splitting it into the stages you're drinking it at, okay? So when this coffee is hot, you get toffee apple and purple plum. When this coffee is medium, you get orange blossom, Yellowstone fruits that remind me of peach, and pomegranate. And when this coffee cools down, it has a beautiful red grape with hints of rose. Now, the aftertaste of this coffee is long-lasting and silky. The acidity of this coffee supports the sweetness in this cup, and it travels in the same 3 stages. It goes from hot malic, like apples, to medium citric, to cold tartaric, like the grapes. And the body of this coffee, guess what? Travels in the same 3 stages. It goes from hot velvety to medium juicy, to cold creamy and lactic. So you see, by using consistency, I couldn't just make a very balanced cup of coffee for you guys, but I could also do a very repattable cup of coffee that I can share with you here on stage today, but also later on with everyone from the audience at the brew bar. Because traveling the world and sharing coffee and sharing flavor is my biggest dream. And I cannot put in words how much this means to me to be standing on this stage and sharing this experience with you here today. I hope you're going to enjoy this cup just as much as I enjoyed making it for you. It was an absolute great time. Thank you. And this is my time.